Mr. President.
Senator from Vermont.
Mr. President, I ask consent to call the quorum be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Mr. President, as the proud parent of a wonderful daughter and the proud grandparent of 3 wonderful granddaughters, like so many others, I was proud of the U.S. women's national team and their historic World Cup victory. I was even more proud when on Tuesday I saw them at the White House with President Obama. I know all Americans are so proud of this well-earned honor. And the reason why so many Americans are proud of it is that earlier this year, with more than 25 million Americans watching, this electrifying group of athletes led the United States to a record 3rd World Cup title. We all cheered this, but then, along with a lot of other Americans, I was surprised to learn the United States women's team, even though there were enormous receipts from the TV coverage of this, they received just $2 million for winning the Women's World Cup. The 2014 Men's World Cup winners were awarded $35 million. So the women win, it's $2 million. Men win, it's $35 million. To make it even worse, is the men's team that lost in the first round of the 2014 Men's World Cup were awarded $8 million. So in other words, you lose, you get $8 million. If you're women and you win, you get $2 million. That's really not acceptable. I can't imagine anybody finding it acceptable. So I wanted to raise some awareness of this. I introduced a Senate resolution. I called on soccer's international governing body, FIFA, to eliminate its discriminatory prize award structure. It highlights their gross pay disparity in their award structure. It calls for immediate change. All Democrats support this call. Now, I've heard some opponents of an equal prize award structure in sports who say, oh no, we must pay men more than women, point to revenue as the reason behind this disparity. Well, revenue can't be accepted as a means for discrimination. Awards should not be determined by gender. That's why major sporting events, including the U.S. Open Tennis Championships and Wimbledon, change their prize award structure to ensure that both female and male athletes are treated with the same dignity and respect they deserve. This proud father and grandfather feels, of course, my sons and my daughters should be treated the same. My grandsons and granddaughters should be treated the same. In fact, it's why the U.S. women's national team was rightly honored with a ticker tape parade and magazine covers for each player and their head coach by Sports Illustrated. Now, these athletes were recognized at the White House on Tuesday are global icons. Not just here in America, but around the world they're recognized. They're role models to young athletes and fans everywhere. But this includes fans like 13-year-old Isla Ludlow. She wrote to President Obama and the First Lady after the Women's World Cup. And she said, it makes me mad that people do not treat girls equally. Well, I agree. It's time to recognize all athletes for their contribution, not make women second-class citizens. So I think taking an overdue but important step toward pay equity, we send a resounding message, not just to women and girls, but also to men and boys around the world. Equal pay for equal work should not just be an ideal we talk about, but a reality. Like all on this side of the aisle, we feel when, again, I repeat, the 2014 Men's World Cup The men's team that lost were awarded $8 million. The women's team were watched worldwide as they won $2 million. And the men's who did win, $35 million. I cannot imagine anybody who could stand up for that kind of disparity and treat men so much differently and so much better than women. These are athletes who work so hard from the time they're young on to be the best of the best. They made America proud. But I think we make America a little ashamed if we don't stand up and say, we want them treated the same as men. So I'm going to ask unanimous consent the Help Committee be discharged from further consideration of Feds Res 222, and the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration. That's the resolution calling on the FIFA to pay the same. The resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, and the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Is there objection?
Mr. President.
Senator from Tennessee.
Mr. President, reserving the right to object, and I've listened carefully to the distinguished senator's comments. Gender discrimination is wrong. All of us know that. In the United States, we've enacted laws about sports and workplace to make sure that we reflect that. I support those laws, but we have a budget to pass. We have a debt crisis to fix. We have an education system that needs reform. We have a humanitarian crisis in Europe that we ought to address. That's what the United States Senate ought to be spending its time on, rather than offering opinions and resolutions about a private international entity and how they should award prizes and awards. So I object.
Objection is heard.
Well, Mr. President, last night we passed resolutions. Here we're talking about taking 30 seconds out of our busy schedule. Of course, we were in a quorum call for a few hours today, but if we could take 30 or 50 or 82 seconds out of the 100 hours or so we'll spend during the month just sitting here doing nothing, and pass a resolution that calls for the equal treatment of male and female athletes. If we can't even do that, is it any wonder the approval ratings of the U.S. Senate are in the tank? If we can't even pass a non-binding resolution, how do we ever achieve real pay equity for women? What's the real objection to simply urging for the equal treatment of female athletes? Treating people differently solely because of their gender is unacceptable. It sends a terrible message to mothers and daughters, granddaughters across the globe. As I said, every single Democrat supports this resolution. I am very disappointed the Republicans are blocking it. And I'll just leave you with one more thing. The women's team to international claim won, and they got $2 million. The men's team that lost in the first round got $8 million. The ones that won got $35 million. Now, Wimbledon knows better. The U.S. Open Tennis Championship said enough is enough. Women should be treated the same as men. A 13-year-old wrote to the president and said, it makes me mad that people do not treat girls equally. Well, I have a granddaughter who will be 13 in December. How do I speak to her? How do I tell her that the U.S. Senate, which is sort of waiting around here, hasn't done anything today, is unwilling to take 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 50 seconds to say, let's treat women athletes the same as men. I thank my Democratic colleagues for supporting this. I hope my Republican colleagues will change their mind and say, let's treat women athletes the same as men athletes. Especially as the World Organization made a fortune on TV rights, certainly made a heck of a lot more in those TV rights when the women were winning than the men's team that lost, and still got paid $8 million, 4 times what the women who won. Now, it's sexist, it's wrong, and it's something that in this day and age, stop treating women as second-class citizens. I don't want my daughter treated that way. I don't want my granddaughters treated that way. I don't want the women in Vermont treated that way. I don't want women anywhere in this country be treated that way. I want that 13-year-old girl who said, why is this so? I want to someday be able to say, I'm sorry the United States Senate wouldn't stand up for you. I stand up for you. Others do, but let's hope someday the United States Senate does. Mr. President, you can see how busy we are. There's not a single senator on this floor, except for the distinguished presiding officer, of course. And so I will suggest the absence of a quorum.